Becca. If you haven't been here before, welcome. So for today's video, I am going to bring you along on a little book date. Me and my boyfriend are going to go to some local bookshops in the area, some independent bookstores, and I'm so excited. There are quite a few that I have never tried out. In fact, I think all of the ones we are going to I have never been to before. So I'm excited to let you know what I thought of them, bring you along with me. It'll be a cute little cozy vibes book date. Me, you, and you know, my boyfriend is like the third wheel. You wouldn't appreciate that. Let's get into the video and hop into the vlog.
I'm falling to pieces in my room. Are you coming over? That's cool. I could use a little something to do. We could go outside, take a little ride if you want to. That's cool. I did what I was supposed to. There's nothing left for me to do. So now I'm poking out my head through open windows. Cause that's what I feel like. Do it tonight. Waking up my brain, maybe you can do the same.
Okay, just finished in Bookish Atlanta, and now we're gonna go to another independent bookstore. I bought something there though, that I've been looking for, so I'm very excited. And we're gonna go get some coffee. So, well, I'm gonna get tea. I don't know if Mike's gonna get anything, but yeah. We went to Joe's East Atlanta for coffee and chai tea, actually just for chai tea, and a donut and walnut bread. And now I think we're gonna either go to Acapella Books, another independent bookstore basically. But yeah, I really liked Bookish. It was really cute, just like a small space, lots of variety. So I'm a fan and I bought something there. So I will show you whatever I buy later today.
Want me to say something? I come up with nothing. Maybe we can talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long in my head, caught up in my feelings. I've been waiting for something new to happen. You want me to say something? I come up with nothing. Maybe we should talk until we figure out a topic. Been so long without it, caught up in my feelings.
So, I thought I recorded this, but apparently I didn't. Apparently I was just talking to myself and Mike. So we just got out of Acapella Books. It was really cute. Half of it was like a new bookstore and then half of it was a used bookstore. So that was cool. I always love a used bookstore because, you know, reuse, reduce, recycle, and they're often cheaper. I couldn't see any prices on the used books, so I'm not sure like how much they were compared to, you know, how much a book regularly is, but it was still a pretty cool space. They had like Beach Read by Emily Henry in their used book section. They had some leather bound books. They had some collectibles. They had some signed used books, which like I feel like you really don't see very often. So yeah, very fun, very cool. And I think we are going to the next bookstore is called Bibliothèque. So hopefully that one will be cool too. But so far, both of the independent bookstores we went to were really cool and cute. So let's keep going.
If we could run it, if we could run it back, and do you wonder if we could run it back, if we could run it, if we could run it back.
Okay. So we just got out of Bibliothèque. That was literally somebody's house. There was like a loft in the back where you could sleep and a kitchen with like food and stuff. Like it was clear that like whoever owned the bookstore lived in the back and then would like come down and sell the books. So, you know, my life's dream. But it was cool. It was all like used books. Like I feel like they like mass buy books and then just sell what they get. So like a super random selection. I didn't really see anything that like interested me, but more like chaotic vibes, like just stacks of books and like shelves of books with like almost no organization or like reason whatsoever. They were just like placed there. But I feel like if you find something that you're like, oh, this is really interesting, this is really cool, it's a little bit cheaper and it's kind of fun to like hunt for it. So that was Bibliotech, and yeah, so far, I mean, it was pretty cool. It's nice to just visit the local bookshops and see what they have. Returned. We went to one more bookstore. It was 44th and 2nd bookstore, I believe. And yeah, 44th and 3rd. Are you sure? It was 44th and 3rd bookstore, or like booksellers, and concentrated on Black authors or books about Black people. And so it was really cool. It was just really great space. It was right near Morehouse College. I think that was probably my favorite one that we went to. And afterwards we went to Busy Bees and we got some soul food. So we're gonna eat that, and then I will show you the books that I got later, because I got 2 books. I'm very excited about it. Okay, so we are back at my house. It's actually a couple days later. I filmed the intro a couple days after I went to the bookstores, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed going to them. I really love independent bookstores and supporting them, because I just feel, as much as I love a good Barnes & Noble trip, I would much rather put my money towards a local independent store. I think you should shop local, shop independent when you can. So we went to 4 different bookshops, and that was like a lot in one day. It took us a couple of hours to kind of bounce around. So wait, let me tell you the names of them. So just so you know, I live in Atlanta, so all these bookshops are based in Atlanta or around Atlanta. The first bookshop we went to was called Bookish Atlanta. It was really cute. It was just really nice vibes. They had a really cute children's section and teen section. It was very colorful. They had board games there. They had little knickknacks like earrings and local art from, you know, artists who live in Atlanta, so that was really cool. So from Bookish Atlanta, I bought Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. So I have been wanting to read this book, and this month my book club is reading this book. So I was like, I have to go and get it physically. I have been a really big audiobook listener to. Okay, I have been really into audiobooks and still am, but when I really like a book, I want to be able to highlight and annotate. I'm a girly who likes to tag their books now, so I decided to go out and buy this hard copy because I've heard such good things about it. I have heard so many people say that it's amazing, so I have a feeling that I'm going to really like it. And look at that cover. It's so pretty. This is the back. So yeah, super excited about this bad boy. And Bookish Atlanta had this little deal where you picked an Easter egg out of the basket, and if you got a chicken inside of it, like a fake chicken, it was 15% off. So I got 15% off, which was amazing. The next bookstore we went to was called Acapella Books, and I did not know this, but it's actually half used bookstore and like half regular schmegular bookstore. So that was really cool. So they had a brand new section where you could buy, you know, the popular books that you want to buy, and then they had this other half of the store that was all used. I just thought that was really cool. It was a lot more like older books, I'm gonna be honest, like when I went into the used section, I didn't see a ton of things that I was like, oh, I have to buy this. But they had a couple of really cool things. They had an Emily Henry book. They had this like hardcover like leather bound book that was really beautiful. They had a lot of leather bounds. A lot of like classic little mysteries. So yeah, I thought it was really cute and I enjoyed going in. The next bookstore we went to was called Bibliothèque, and it's called a rare bookstore. So when we went in, this bookstore is one of those stores that's very much the vibe of like books everywhere without any organization. So if you're one of those people who likes to go and kind of like dig through and find the gems, then this store is definitely for you. It was like there were stacks of books everywhere surrounding the whole store. It was kind of cool. Like there was a loft in the back. It was clear that someone like lived in the store and also sold books. But this was much more the vibe of like someone was mass buying like boxes of old or used books and then reselling them in the store. So yeah, there were a couple that I found interesting, a couple that stood out to me, but it was just a lot of really random stuff. So if that's kind of your vibe, if you like to go digging to find, you know, some buried treasure, then that's definitely the store for you. The last bookstore that we went to was called 44th and 3rd Booksellers, and this was probably my favorite bookstore just because I don't think I've ever been to a bookstore like this. So at 44th and 3rd, I bought this beauty, and this is Bloodmarked. It is the second in the Legendborn series, and I read Legendborn recently. I listened to it as an audiobook and loved it. Absolutely loved it. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But so I knew that I wanted to not only like read the next one, but also probably own both of them. And it is a trilogy, so the next one will be coming out, I believe, this year. So really excited to have this bad boy. She's thick, but just like a beautiful cover. The first cover is also gorgeous. I'm sure I'll like put it up over here. Yeah, I really loved this book, and I think I'm going to tag and highlight this one because I really loved Legendborn, and I would honestly like to go back and like highlight and tag Legendborn as well. But very exciting. And as I was saying, 44th and 3rd was my favorite because it was majority or possibly all like Black authors or Black stories. So I just found it really interesting and cool to step into a space that was clearly like dedicated to concentrating on Black stories, and I just think that's so cool. It's right near the HBCUs in Atlanta, the historically Black colleges and universities. And it's like right on campus, and it was just really, really cool. The selection was incredible. You know, there were obviously autobiographies, history, all of that sort, but then there were also a ton of like popular books, young adult books, children's books. So I just absolutely love the selection, and probably my favorite store. So that was the book date. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me. I also wanted to do my reading wrap up for January, February, and March. A lot of booktubers that I watch are speedy readers. They like fly through books, which is, you know, incredible for them. However, I am not a speedy reader, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter how quickly you read. It also depends on how much free time you have and how much time you can dedicate specifically just to reading. So no harm, no foul, but I like to do these bigger clusters of reading wrap-ups because I have 12 books on this list, and I know some booktubers who will do a reading wrap-up of 1 month and have 12 books. But just to have a little bit more substance, a little bit more here, I am going to do my reading wrap-up. So let's start with January. So in January, I read 6 books. And the first one was The Office BFFs, Tales of the Office from Two Best Friends Who Were There. So that is the autobiography of Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsley, who were both characters on The Office, the USA version. And I watched The Office. I loved it when I was younger. I watched it a lot. I probably watched it like 3 times all the way through. Yeah, I was one of those people, and I still enjoy The Office. but I was interested to see like the behind the scenes of what was going on in the office and get a little bit more of the storyline of just like what their day-to-day life was. It's always fun to take something that you really love and get like a sneak peek at it. So this was definitely a different perspective, but it was also just more concentrated on the friendship that Jenna and Angela created during their time on the show. I'm actually doing another video where some of these books are going to be in that video, so I'm not going to go too deeply into my thoughts and feelings on them. I enjoyed it. It was fine. If you haven't watched The Office, then you probably shouldn't read this book, but if you have, then it was very enjoyable and cute, and it was just like a sweet book. So I gave it 3 stars. The next book is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. And this is like a dual perspective book, so each chapter shifts between 2 characters. And this book was my book club book for that month, and honestly I loved it. It is a sci-fi book. I am not very big into sci-fi. It's not usually what I reach for, and I just found it so interesting. Like it basically talks about this war that's going on along like the string of time, and basically there are 2 futures and they're battling over which future is going to succeed. So one future includes like garden, which is like kind of more nature plant people, and they're all connected, and then the other one is more like the tech matrix vibe where everything is part machine. So you have these 2 warring ideas and perspectives, and you have one character from each side, and like they are enemies, but eventually they kind of strike up this conversation. And so a lot of this book is them writing letters back and forth to each other, originally like taunting each other, and then slowly it starts to turn into something more, and we get to see them progress in this relationship all through these letters. And it's honestly such a beautiful story. Like, it's not at all what I would usually go for, but it is deep and romantic and scary, and it's a risk it all situation, and there are twists and turns that you don't see coming. And I don't want to spoil anything, so that's all I'm going to say about it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it just brings my heart happiness. So if you couldn't tell, that book was 5 out of 5. The next book I read is Call Is What We Carry by Amanda Gorman. This is also going to be in another video. So like I said, I'm not going to get too into it. This is a poetry book. Amanda Gorman is an incredible writer. It's beautiful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I tried to listen to it, and then I decided to read the physical book, and I would highly suggest that you all do the same, because the physical book, the way that the text is shaped sometimes is different, the way that it's colored is different, and the way that it looks on the paper is important to the context of what she's trying to say in her poetry. So I think that a physical book is like the best way to go. If you want to listen to her speak it and read the physical book, I think that's a good option as well, because poetry is meant to be spoken, but it is so beautiful, and it was 5 stars. So that's all I gotta say about that. The next one I read is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Same thing, Goodreads, different video, but I gave this one 3 stars. I know everyone is raving and ranting about this book. People seem to absolutely love it. I enjoyed it. I think that Jeanette has really made a name for herself in the writing industry, and I'm so proud of where she is today after learning about her whole story. It basically goes from childhood to almost like where she is right now, and talks about how her mother impacted the choices that she made and her life and the direction that it went in. And it also talks about abuse and eating disorders, so there's a lot of trigger warnings that you should read before you go into this book. If you have any concerns, definitely check them out before you go in. It's a hard story. It is difficult to read often. There were painful moments. There were also funny moments. Jeanette is extremely sarcastic, and she does have this comedic tone that like makes you laugh out loud sometimes, but there were some really difficult parts in there, so I would definitely suggest checking out the trigger warnings before you read this one. The next book I read was One of Us is Lying, by Karen M. McManus, and this book was so fun. I think I'm in my like young adult reading era. I have been loving reading young adult. I don't know if it's because it just feels like easy and it flows, but the thing about the young adult books, not specifically this one, but the ones I've been reading recently, they're still like deep and complicated and like have these like strong, powerful emotions that can really get to you, and there's nothing about them that is like childlike or inferior to the adult genre. So I don't know. I mean, yes, they might cater to like a younger audience, but to me, I feel like they're just as heavy hitting as some of the adult books that I read as well. But One of Us is Lying it's a series. There are, I believe, 3 of them, and the 3rd one's coming out this year, but really enjoyed it. Basically, these 5 kids end up in detention together, and then before they leave, one of them dies. So the whole story is trying to figure out what happened, how this person died, whether it was like murder or something else. It's like very chaotic, and everybody in the book has secrets, so it feels like there's a lot of twists and turns that happen throughout the book. But I also just really love like a good old mystery, so I enjoyed this a lot. I didn't guess who it was like right off the bat, and I enjoy guessing as I go, so I was like coming up with theories. I gave it 4 stars. And the last book that I read in January is called The Sea of Tranquility. This is also going to be in my other video, but I gave this book 5 stars. It's another sci-fi book, so maybe I am a sci-fi girly now, but it's all about these like different areas in time. And if you read the summary for this, it's absolutely confusing and you have no idea what's happening when you go into it. But I honestly feel like that's the way it should be. It's about all these different timelines and the ways that they overlap. There's like this event that happens, and like the timelines kind of like go together at one point, and you're trying to figure out like what's happening to the timelines, like why this happened when it did in these different eras. And so honestly, like that's as much as I'm going to tell you about it, because you really should go in blind. So now we get to February's reading wrap up, and in February I think I read like, we're gonna say 2. I read 2 books in February. The first book I read was Heartstopper Volume 4. This is also gonna be in my other video. I love the Heartstopper series. I think I gave this a 5 star as well. I give them all 5 stars. I just really enjoy them. If you're not familiar with the Heartstopper series, I highly suggest you read it. It's these graphic novels, and the 5th one is coming out this year, and I believe that's going to be the last one. But it is about these 2 young boys who are basically just discovering their identities, exploring their sexualities, and kind of like figuring themselves out. They're both in high school, and it's definitely it's a love story between these 2 boys, and it's beautiful and sweet, and there's something both like innocent and gentle about it. It feels very comforting to read, and I just love them, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful graphic novels. The next book I read in February was My Sister the Serial Killer. This was my February book club read, and this is by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but this book was really good. Also not the kind of book I would usually reach for, but I think that's what I love about book club, is that I really get to expand my reading horizons, because we all suggest books together and then we vote on them. The storyline follows these 2 sisters. You learn pretty quickly one of which is, well, it says it in the title, one of which is a serial killer, and the other of which is a nurse at a hospital, and she basically cleans up after her sister each time it comes to light that she's killed someone. Her sister calls her and she comes and she helps her clean it up. So it explores like family ties and the way that sisters and families rely on each other. It also explores the value of like beauty and like beauty-centric ideas, and how if you're beautiful, there's this like pretty privilege that happens. And so it kind of explores that. It's just a really great story and definitely worth the read. So 5 stars. And the last books I'm going to talk about are my March books. The first book I want to talk about is Legendborn, and like I said, I bought the 2nd of the series, so obviously I really liked it. I would like to buy the 1st of the series, but it just was not at the independent bookstore that I went to. They just didn't have it. Legendborn, it is a King Arthur retelling with a twist. So if you like fantasy, if you like subplots of romance, if you like learning about, you know, like racism and sexism and getting a perspective from a Black main character, which you should, it is absolutely so interesting and deep. And like I said, these are young adult books, but they don't feel young to me. It's deep, it's beautiful, I absolutely loved it. It's 5 stars.
One eternity later.
The next book I started to read was The Maid. This was the first book that I decided to tab and highlight. I love the way that it looks. Like I said, I'm a tabbing girl now, and I'm gonna tab all my books. Maybe not so much, but yeah, I really enjoyed tabbing it. I thought it was really fun. This book honestly kind of put me in a reading slump, and then I ended up reading something else, finishing that book and then coming back to this. But this is also going to be in my other video, so I don't want to go too deep into it, but it was a 3-star. It's like, it's said to be like a mystery slash thriller. It's really not a thriller. It's barely a mystery. It's about this young woman who works in a hotel as a maid, and kind of the things that she sees and the way that she can get around without being really noticed. And one day she finds a dead body in one of the rooms and calls down, and she is, you know, pretty quickly suspected of possibly being the murderer. So you're trying to explore like who the murderer really is. I just didn't love the storyline itself, but overall, yeah, it was okay. That's how it was. 3 stars. It was okay. So the book that I started reading, because The Maid was just not doing it for me at the moment, was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is number 4 in the Hercule Poirot series by Agatha Christie. Loved it. 5 stars. One of the best Christie novels that I've read so far. I'd heard a couple people say, like, I've looked up rankings before and have heard that Roger Ackroyd is rated pretty highly, and totally deserved. There are twists that I did not see coming, that I did not anticipate. This is the first book that I read where Hastings, who is like Hercule Poirot's sidekick but also usually the main narrator of the book, is not in it, and I missed him because I love Hastings. It's a classic cozy whodunit murder mystery. I love Agatha Christie. I love her writing, and just like her books make me feel like I am like cozied up next to a fireplace looking out the window on a rainy day in the English countryside. So that is my reading wrap up. Those are all the books that I read January, February, March. So it's been a while. I think it was totals like 12 books. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you liked coming with me to these local indie bookstores. I hope that if you are in the area, you get to visit them. If you've ever been to any of them or you have the chance to visit them, let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you have any suggestions of other bookstores you think I should visit, then drop those down in the comments below as well. And let me know what you read the past couple of months, if you read anything good. And I will see you guys next time with another video. Bye!